Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Hello, welcome back. You know, the other day I was thinking to myself, I've done so many desserts and main dishes and seafood and everything, but I've never really had a go at an appetizer. So, are you pleased? Oh, good, fine. All right, because appetizers can be a real challenge because, you could do a good salad beforehand, there's no problem with that. But I think really, mostly, it's all the little nuts and bits and pieces that you sit down and have a go and just sort of socialize, and then you go in for the meal. We don't really count those kind of calories that don't count. Well, we're going to look at something. I'll show you how they do count it a little later on, but, you know, we'll worry about the numbers at the end. Here, what would you think to having something that looks like an enchilada, but in fact has its derivation from something called a quesadilla, and has little bits of green and yellow and red and orange, all filled up in tight little packages like that. And you know what you would do with those? You just drop those into your mouth as you're socializing before dinner, and you say, oh, that's good. And immediately the conversation starts to drift towards good food and things like that. Interesting? All right, and if you didn't want to serve it like that, then you could serve it up as a kind of enchilada. Come and have a look at it, and I'll show you how it's done. Well, I want to do everything right in front of your eyes. So this tray here has been prepared, and it has a load of peppers and various vegetables on there which are going to go under the broiler, and what they call roasting nowadays. No oil on it, anything else, just all nice and flat. Pop that in there, and I want to give that the maximum time possible, and so I think about 10 minutes we should be able to do. So dial it up on 10 minutes. Let me just show you one thing about this broiler. Can you see, I'll get there. Can you see right at the back, there's a little fan. I'll make it go round because it only goes round when you actually close the door. See it whizzing round like that? That's blowing the very hot air over the top of the broiler unit, which is set in here, and really increases that broiler use. I mean, it really makes it go without having to use an awful lot of electricity. Good idea, saves the trees and all that. Now, let's have a look. First of all, this is one of the large red peppers, which when they're in season are reasonably priced. We'll get into the pricing on how you can afford to do this one a little later on. And, oh, look, it's had babies. Isn't this exciting? You know, when they're really like that, look, little green ones. How wonderful. I haven't actually had one like that, ever like that before. Isn't that marvelous? Well, anyway, I suppose you're not interested. Let's simply cut those now flat. It's possible with a round pepper of this nature to actually get them to go flat. And it's one of those things which I've always been fascinated by, because a lot of cookbooks say to you, you just simply get hold of the pepper and you put it on the end of a fork or something like this, dip it in oil, and then stick it under the broiler, and you have to hold this and rotate it round under the broiler. Couldn't see the point, because you see, these lay flat now. You only want to blister the skin on the top, so why not just lay them out and then keep the other bits and pieces for salad or salsas. I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. All right, next thing. We have here a red onion. Now, that red onion will just simply, just cut a little piece off the end, just in case you get into trouble with it. And you want to cut slices of about 1/4 inch thick, okay? So just go down through like so, and they're nice, thick, meaty slices, and put those out as well. They broil nicely. If you're going to use a tomato of any kind, try a tomato which is the Roma one, you know, this little plum-shaped tomato here. And just do this. Just roll the knife blade through it and take it out. Take out the seeds and the end little piece of the just here, where it attaches to the vine. I can't think. Stalk end. There we go. And just keep on. Good. Right, now those, you don't need bits of seeds as well. Just put those skin side up as well. Now these only take about 5 minutes to broil, but I'm hoping they'll do all right there just whilst we're chatting. Shove it all to one side. This is a very intriguing pepper with an interesting history. This is an Anaheim, and it's called an Anaheim, and everybody knows it to be an Anaheim, but it's actually a New Mexico. Now, I'm sorry about that, folks in Anaheim. Mr. Ortega, who's famous for his chilies, actually picked this up. It was developed in about the 1800 and something in, I can't remember the exact date, in New Mexico as a I don't think they said gringo. I'm sure that's just in movies that they say things like that. But the sort of northern uneducated palate maybe that wasn't prepared to sting. And so instead of the jalapeno, this is about 1,000 units on the Scoville stage. It's got a little tang to it. You think, you know, business like this, but not much. So that's, Scoville was a fellow who worked for a pharmaceutical company, and he got peppers like this one, which is the jalapeno, and he got people who are rather uneducated at eating peppers to put this on their tongue, and depending upon how much of an hour they got out of the experience. By the way, always take the seeds out here. The seeds are really quite hot. And they would put it on their tongue, and then to degree to the pain, it wasn't very scientific, he would then give it a rating. And now it's done by liquid chromatography. And so they can do this quite definitely. So this one here runs about 10,000 to 20,000 units on the scale, whereas only 1,000 on the other one. Now, if you're going to use this, take very thin slices through, and then chop that. And tiny little pieces, but each one with a decided bark or bite. If you want one that really goes for you, try one called a habanero or Scotch bonnet, and they're the hottest. They run 60,000 plus, kind of pepper stuff. All right, good. Well, those are all ready. Now, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the avocado. Now, there are some avocados around which have they're much darker than this. This is a lime, I know that. And this, it's sort of shiny on the outside and quite smooth, whereas this one is darker and rough. Look for the dark, rough one. Those are always the best. I'm sorry about that for those people who grow the other ones, but that's the way I feel about it. Now, this is what they call a girth cut. You cut around the middle of it and just open it up. You can, if you like, just sort of twist that with a knife, and the nut comes straight out. And then all you need, with a little bowl here, is to take a spoon and just simply remove the avocado like that. Now that takes it all out. If it's very well done, if it's very ripe and squishy to hold, then it may go black on the outside there, and you don't really want to get that in. But that's a perfectly good example of a great one. Just take a fork and mash it up. And it's a simple thing. Just dab it with a fork and you'll mash it up easily. And then 3 tablespoons of strained yogurt. You know our strained yogurt, where we put the plain non-fat yogurt in the fridge and put it on a strainer and just strain it overnight. It's all in the book. Sorry about that, but I need to get on. Tablespoonful of Parmesan cheese and a little bit of that jalapeno in there just to give it a bit of a sparkle, and some black pepper. Just mill some fresh ground pepper. By stirring that all up together, you get something like, well, it's a type of guacamole, but you're using mouthfeel from the yogurt instead of adding any more fat or oil to it than occurs naturally in the avocado. There, good. Looks nice. Now let's see. Okay, now we get to the broiler. All right. Now, the broiling unit is really quite interesting because, good. By now, it has done a neat job of blistering the outside of the skin. And it doesn't need to be charred black, as some people like to suggest, but it does need to be well blistered. Have a look. See how that compares now with these that were done here? See the red ones? Let me see whether I can lift that one across quickly. See how it changes color a bit? It loses some of its vivid, but there it's got that little bit. Now, what you do with that is get a brown paper bag and you just simply lift the pieces that you have done and pop them into a brown paper bag. Now, only, not the onions, not the tomatoes, but just the peppers. Just pop them in there. And we will then close the bag up. I know it sounds strange. And leave that for 10 minutes to get cold. Now, at the end of that period of time, after the 10 minutes, you will take a bag and just simply drop those out on the plate. You go, no. Well, these charred well, and I wanted to char them well. And you'll see what's happened here. During that 10 minutes, they go cold, and it is possible then to just quite simply remove the skin. You see how neat that is? Now look, I'll fiddle with this, but let's go and have a look in the supermarket, and I'll show you some of the other vegetables that you could use, in this kind of way by broiling them and then serving them. They're quite luscious and wonderful. Over to you. All right, well, thanks, Graham, once again. Now, this is when you're going around the produce department and you're thinking in the center of your head, or on the outside of your head if you like, I want to roast some vegetables just like he did it or like somebody else did it. Okay, well now this is a guide to some of those vegetables. But first of all, you can get to things very quickly in a very small scale. This is the economy of scale idea. This will cost you $6 per pound. These are all ready for you to be able to do. These are a slightly larger can, about 4-ounce can, or jar obviously, and that will cost you $4.50. Then you can go up to this one at $3.25, and that one's been roughly roasted. So if you have a look at the end here, you'll see little flecks of black over the top of this. It hasn't gone rotten. This actually is the roasting process, and it will look like that, and it's peasant and it's nice. This is the original one out of the little jars, very delicate and very well done. Now these are mine. These are taking an ordinary pepper like this one and actually, well, a red one, and roasting it like we've been showing you in the program at the moment. So this is the debris you get off it, and this costs about $2.83 a pound, so you can see there's not much between the two if you want to save some time. Okay, now, here are some things. Obviously, a tomato is going to go very well in this one. An eggplant will go as well. And by the way, when you get eggplant, try and get a nice smooth shape with a little bit of variation in color there, doesn't matter, but nice and smooth and a good, if you pat it, it should sound like a hollow child. And then we've got here an orange, of all things, an orange pepper. You've seen red ones, no doubt, but not an orange one. And then these great yellow ones as well. Now, these are all sweet bell peppers, like this one, except this one is straightforward in its turning color. These are designed to be those colors, and a great coloring. There's a thing called a tomatillo as well, which is a kind of Mexican tomato, the green tomato, and those go well. Those are slightly sticky when you pick them up, so don't worry about it. That's the way they are. Anaheim pepper, lay that on the top. Great stuff. Look at the colors of that. Just imagine these all milling together in flavor. Come on through, and I'll show you something else. Hey, boy, come on through. All right, now the big thing to do as you're sort of trotting around here is to always look for the things that you think are going to be able to cook in about the same period of time. So that's what I'm doing. If you're going to take that was a green pepper to go with the rest of them. This is a patty pan, all right? And it's a summer squash. And this thing goes well. This is rather large. I'd like to have it at just about a ½ inch smaller than that. And then, of course, these are terrific things. There's the yellow crookneck and zucchini. goes great as well. Now, see the range of these things, all of which cook at exactly the same time. Next time you cruise around the produce department, please have a look and think to yourself, hey, what can I broil? I mean, what can I actually grill, roast, or whatever it is, instead of just steam and boil, okay? All right, ready, Graham? Back to you. Isn't that terrific? I mean, there are so many things that you can actually use for that purpose. Now, let me just get some rolled ones into the oven just to heat them up. And you're going to say, where do the rolled ones come from? I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. With a nice hot oven, 5 minutes just to heat through. And that's the enchilada style. Okay, well, these are the vegetables when once they've been peeled. And so these are the peelings that you get off the outside. And they're so easy to do because of that steaming in the bag idea. And what we'll do is to take a whole wheat tortilla. Now, I happen to like whole wheat tortillas, and you might not like. If you don't like it, use corn ones. That's great. And then take the this wonderful dollop of the avocado and spread that around on the bottom, all over. Nice? This is great because you can do it with all kinds of gusto. Take the pieces of the pepper and just line it up. You put a piece of red pepper and a piece of green pepper there. That's yellow, of course, and then green. And just build it across the side. Take a little bit of the onion and lay that over the top. A little couple of pieces of tomato maybe, and put that in there. A little bit of cilantro, and just a dust with the top of cilantro, perhaps a little bit of pepper. And this is the time when you sort of have fun, but bit of more of the jalapeno pepper on the top. And then you just simply wind that up, make a little curl out of it, and then roll that right tight to the top. You see how the avocado is still underneath there. And then you take that and you put that away into a nice dish and get that all ready. And stick it in the oven for just 5 minutes. And that's that bit. Now, but you can bring this back, and let me show you the nifty little trick that you can have for those special little things that you want to serve to your friends when they come. Now, I got a little bit of this stuff on the outside, forgive me for that. And you just cut those through about every inch. And that's a nice mouthful. Let me weigh those for just a moment. That's one. There should be about 3 to the ounce. 1, 2, and 3. They're very attractive and good-looking things. All right. Good. Is that an ounce? Just a smidgen over. And the rest there. Now I'll show you how it looks when you're actually ready to. Oh, they just need a bit more. So let me show you. This is the salsa. And this is jicama, and it's a marvelous, crisp, white, beautiful vegetable, which makes very good salsa. The same tomatoes, lime juice, the trimmings from the peppers, the jalapeno, and some green onion that goes into that. Chop that up, put it into one of these mills here, little processor, put on some fresh lime juice, and just run that for a moment. That's enough. Just so that you break it all up and you make this extremely colorful looking salsa in there. You like the look of that? It's just pile that onto the side of the plate. Look, it's so fresh and it's ready to go and it's wonderful. Put a sprig of cilantro by the side of that, decoratively. Just spread it out. Decoratively. You ever tried to do something decoratively in a hurry? Good. Fine. Now, let's have a look and see what these are like. They take about 5 minutes just to heat through in a nice hot oven. And this slides out with one of these kind of fellas here. And just dive underneath it and lay that out there. That's nice and hot. That's like the enchilada. These are the ones which can be served as the appetizer. And these are put out on a nice tray. Pack it nice and tightly so that they're easy to hold. Looks terrific. Okay, let's go and taste it. Come through. Now, just one additional thing that you can do with this one is to take some of that strained yogurt, put just a little lime in it and cilantro, and then serve that up as a sour cream as well. And that is really does very well. Okay, let's compare this with the quesadilla, with the sour cream and all the stuff. And this is where you sort of eat and you say, I know what's in it, but it doesn't matter, you know, because this is fiesta time. Well, not necessarily. Oh, isn't that fun? Oh, that's right, I just did that. I just looking down and said, I know what that is. Here are the numbers. If we compare with the classic quesadilla, 1,058, largely coming from cheese. 243, because we've gotten right down on that. Only 6 grams of fat. 45 in carbohydrate, the same. 22% now, where it was 67%, which is really high. Cholesterol at 204 now becomes 2. And we've got a 232 in sodium, which is really fine. I mean, this is pretty bad news at 1787. Again, no criticism of that because it's really terribly successful. But hey, you got your friends there and you pop there and say, what's this? You said, just eat it, see. And I said, wow. One flavor chases another and your mouth tingles and it's alive. That little tiny piece of the jalapeno is there. I just crunched into it. And that part of the side of my mouth went, whee, you know, like this. It's a lovely taste. And then this becomes crisp on the outside. You just cut through it. It has these wonderful colors in the middle. It's good stuff. It truly is good stuff. Lots of springboarding potential. Well, I wanted to show this to you because there is, I don't know whether you're like me, but there's a way of not counting calories. Some of them just simply don't count. And it's really intriguing. Just a recent study that was done in one major university, they asked people and they watched them very carefully as they ate. And they knew they were being watched very carefully when they ate. And then they asked them, now write down in a diary form what you actually consume. And they were way off. You know, sometimes up to 50% off in the number of calories that they thought that they consumed. So how do you measure things? You know, I think that the only thing I've been ever able to say to myself about this is learn to weigh with your eyes and don't fudge it. Whatever you put in your mouth is going to have some kind of calorie value. Let me show you, actually, because it helps a little bit to see what this looks like. Here are some macadamia nuts. This is the sort of thing that you could serve to your friends and they'd be a nice dish of macadamias. They're a wonderful thing. 193 calories, 21 grams of fat in just 1 ounce, okay? That's pretty bad news. How about cashews? Cashews are lovely, 163 calories, 13 grams of fat. This is sodium, by the way, the bottom line here. What about here, a good quality potato crisp or potato chip? 167, 13 grams of fat again, and up on the sodium at 215. A pretzel, now a pretzel I know is low in fat, but quite high in calories, 111, 1 gram of fat only, so that's good stuff. But 451 in sodium, that's beginning for people who are sodium sensitive to be a problem. Now you take those 3 little pieces that we just put together and that I've got here. In fact, I'll stick one of them on. They're like this just to remind us of. 3 of these would be 30 calories, 0.7 of a gram of fat, and 29 in terms of sodium. Now, big thing. If you're inviting people that you really love to your home and you really want to give them a great meal, but don't want to do them an injury, then this may be one of the things that you might like to be able to serve, just as a change, just to see what happens to the conversation when you serve those at the beginning, and the conversation seems to turn around to food and the ideas of feeding each other in a neat way. I think that's fun. Yeah, I've got this terrible feeling sometimes when I've served a bit of a rich meal that my friends, whilst they'll stroke me in my own house and say to Trina and I, oh, that was a wonderful dinner, thanks so much for having us, that the moment their car door goes boom, like this and they start driving off, the one turns to the other one and says, that's the last time I eat out in a month. I don't want that to happen. Well, actually, it is just there. That taste of that jalapeno is wonderful. And it's such a colorful idea, okay? So have some friends in, enjoy them. God bless you. See you next time.